This is a Renogy 40 amp 12 volt DC-DC converter that I bought with my own money, and it's actually a good DC-DC converter but an awful product with several really stupid, frustrating flaws that makes it a very regrettable purchase. So I bought this because I have a small solar panel and LFP battery in my work van, and I wanted to shunt power from that system to the car's normal 12 volt system, since the LFP batteries was just sitting around fully charged all the time, and the solar panel production was going to waste. The DC-DC was supposed to boost the voltage of the LFP battery higher than the car's own DC, thus powering all the 12 volts accessory from my little solar panel when driving, and also letting me run the radio for entire days without turning the HV battery on. So I installed it, and after agreeing to hand over my personal data, including but not limited to my email address, my first and last names, my full address, my fingerprint and facial image, my device information, photographs, personal contacts and address book information to Renogy and several third parties for an undisclosed period of time, acknowledging that Renogy don't know where that data goes but still agreeing that the information may be associated with my personal information and tracked over time across different websites and apps used. I was able to create an account for the Renogy app and log in to configure the DC-DC converter that has no online functions. Unless of course you start the app, disable internet access, enter false credentials into the app, check the box agreeing to the policies and click login, which gives you the option to start in offline mode. Or you click the label in the far top right corner that's designed not to look like a button, but is actually a button to start without an account. But it's only there if you've already turned off networking before starting the app. This is just some real slimy bullshit Renogy are pulling here, and they can frankly get fucked for doing it. Just put a big, clear offline button there, right in the middle of the app, instead of trying to trick people into agreeing to your bullshit terms. Anyway, with the correct voltage and current settings configured, the DC-DC actually did what I wanted it to do, so I left it in the van for a while, and this revealed the first major problem. It never turns off. You can't turn it off. As soon as there's voltage on either side of the converter, it powers on and turns its LEDs on. 24/7, and the idle power consumption is 15 to 32 milliamps depending on if the Bluetooth module is hooked up or not. The official solution is to disconnect both the input and output sides, which is frankly a joke. But it gets worse. The manual specifies no load current consumption as 15 milliamps or less. Not only is that not true if the Bluetooth module is connected, that is actually the sleep consumption, when the power stage is completely turned off in the DC-DC. The actual no load current consumption, when the power stage is active, is about 150 milliamps or 2 watts. A number that they fail to mention anywhere in the manual. What's worse is that if it's in sleep mode, it'll draw those 15 to 32 milliamps from the input or the output, meaning that if you leave this DC-DC plugged in for a long time, it'll drain both your batteries down to zero. The hardware just has no way of actually turning the logic supply off. It's going to be on and shine those LEDs until the battery drops down to about 5 volts. Hilariously, the app has no less than 2 settings for low volts disconnect, both of which act on the voltage at the output, and both of which do nothing other than turn on the red LED, thus discharging the batteries even faster. It makes absolutely no sense to have a low voltage disconnect on the output side, because that's the side that's supposed to receive power. It makes no sense to disconnect if the output voltage is too low, because you want to do the opposite, you want to turn on more. This is essentially a battery charger that will turn off if your battery is too low a voltage. In normal operation, the DC-DC decides whether or not to turn on the power stage based on the voltage of the input terminals, and you can't configure these voltage levels at all. You're stuck with 2 presets. By default, it's on if the input is above 12.7 volts, and if you connect the IGN terminal to B+, it's on at 11.5 volts and up. That means that if you use an LFP battery on the input side with a higher idle voltage than 12.7 volts, The DC-DC will just remain on indefinitely and use a ton of power to uselessly float the output battery 24/7. Those hard-coded input voltage limits also mean that the specs are wrong again. The input voltage range isn't actually 9 to 16 volts, it's 11.5 to 16 volts, which makes it really picky about voltage drops in your wiring. I'm sure that hardware is capable of running down to 9 volts, but you can't actually configure it to do that. So all in all, I'm very disappointed with this product. I reached out to Renogy to comment, and they basically said that all of this is an intentional design and they aren't going to fix it. Yeah, right. It's very frustrating because at its core, this is a competent device. The build quality is reasonable and it doesn't seem to be a radio-killing EMI bomb. It's spec'd at 94% efficiency, which seems about right from how warm it runs, and the heatsink is well sized for that dissipation. It is a good DC-DC converter, trapped in a bad Chinese-owned product, and that really sucks. There's so much potential that's just been squandered. So, naturally, I depotted my brand new €250 DC-DC converter to see if it could be fixed. Simply adding a manual on-off to reduce the idle power consumption would go a long way to making it viable, and I'm happy to report that it's extremely easy to do, and you can cut idle power consumption down to less than 1 milliamp by removing one component and adding a single jumper wire. So this is the power supply for processor. It's an inefficient linear regulator that's connected to the input and the output with two diodes, these two here. If they are removed, the processor will never power up, and the converter will only draw about 0.4 milliamps from the input and output side respectively. That's a 95% reduction from the 50 milliamp draw if a converter is in sleep, or a 99.995% reduction if a converter is on but idle, as it was for me. So to re-enable the converter, I put one of the diodes back. This guy is just hanging out, just in case, not connected to anything. And I wired up to the unused pin of the ignition input. That way, if the ignition input is not connected to 12 volts, the processor has no power supply and the converter turns off completely. The frustrating part about this modification is that it takes no parts to do. Renogy already installed a 2-pin connector for the ignition signal. A single copper trace to the unused pin is all that's missing. What a waste. If I had just, instead of doing this silly connection here, ran this diode all the way over there and hooked it there, instructing people to connect one pin to plus 12 volts to turn off a converter, this would all be history and I wouldn't be making this angry video about this thing. What a waste. Alright, so now that we are out of the scripted, God forbid, section of this video, let's just have a quick look at the PCB to wrap up. So I've obviously depotted this and it came apart really easily. The potting was barely attached at all. So I just shoved some isopropyl alcohol and basically pulled it off in big sheets. So that's not a problem. There's going to be some high-res images linked below if you're curious or trying to repair one of these. The construction is pretty simple. You can see there's pretty much nothing on the bottom side, so you can do pretty much anything from the top. So this little DC-DC converter here seems to be a boost converter to generate the gate drive for the high side MOSFETs, because this actually is a positive side switch device, which is really nice. You can see this is the negative terminal on the alternator side. That just goes all the way through to this terminal here. So you could probably get away with just using a single ground connection on this, and this probably works even if your grounds are tied externally. I haven't tried anything, and it's obviously designed to work as a sort of pass-through, but this is good. You wouldn't want a negative side switch converter for something like this, so that's at least a good thing. That's part of why I say this is a competent DC-DC. It's good for its job. It also has proper current shunts here on the output side, but nothing on the input side. The app will report some current on the input. I have no idea how it's actually deriving that. Maybe it's just sort of making stuff up. it definitely has no way to actually measure that unless there's something really funny going on in this converter circuit, but I strongly doubt that. The capacitors are very generic, bunch of 25 volt one phase and microfarad parts. Probably not going to last a lifetime, but I'm sure they're fine. And here you can see the modification I've done to the ignition terminal. These pins are shorted by default. I have cut that trace in order to turn this into two separate terminals. But I've literally just taken a jumper wire over there through a hole in the board. There's a thermal pad here for the heatsink temperature sensor. And we flip around. The green jumper wire goes to one of the input diodes there. And these were obviously going across there. So this is the output side power supply, that's the input side power supply. I just took one of them and put it as it was, so that power can flow through the diode and in there. Normally you'd pay extra attention to input filtering, but the way this power supply was wired up by default, they go to these big traces, and these just go straight to the input and straight to the output. There's just no filtering at all anywhere. I'm surprised this thing seems to be decent EMC wise. It looks like a radio bomb, but just shoving an AM radio across it has not revealed any horrible problems. It hasn't killed the FM radio in my car either. And here's just a quick demo of the device in its different idle power stage. So this is the default with Bluetooth connected. We have it connected to a input power supply and nothing else. You can see it's drawing 30 milliamps. It will keep on doing this indefinitely, no matter what. We can turn a voltage down and down and down and down, and it's just going to keep drawing current until it drops down to about 6 volts or so. And now it should start dropping out as the regulators go out of regulation. There we go, we're starting to drop out. So this would be your battery, right? That is no good. So now we can turn on this power supply. This is our output. You can see we have 12 volts on the output. It's just connected straight across there. And that means that if we turn the input up to more than 13.2 volts, like so, it's going to take a while, and then it's going to turn on, which will raise the output voltage here to whatever it's set to. I think it's 14 volts. There we go, it's stabilized. It doesn't really like being hooked up to power supplies and not battery, but this is now a realistic idle consumption for just maintaining a voltage with no actual load connected. You can see this doesn't actually sync anything. It's basically a glorified voltmeter right now. So we have 170 milliamps constantly, because the Bluetooth module is also connected. And for me, this is essentially what the DC-DC converter was doing 24/7 when it was installed. It was just on using 150, 170 milliamps plus whatever current was flowing through it into the battery on the other side, which was just unacceptable in my application. But now, thanks to my modification, we can do that. And the LEDs have turned off, and we are down to using 0.4 milliamps from that power supply, and also 0.4 milliamps from that power supply, but it doesn't have the resolution to show it. And that is, of course, a very, very big improvement. So with that, I'm happy to reassemble this and actually put it back into service. I'm not going to repot it. I don't think it's necessary for my application. In fact, I don't think the potting compound was doing all that much, because it was cut off right along the edge, and it was just so loosely on there that I can easily see how moisture would sort of creep in between there. So not a very good potting job, which is good for me. I got to take it out. And just as a proof of concept, we can of course turn it back on. There we go. How many times the CPU is going to do that before corrupting its firmware, God only knows, but I'm going to wing it. Now we're back to drawing idle power, and it should turn back on in a moment. There we go. Alright, we're now out of a van, and I've reattached for DC-DC, and as you can see right now it's turned off. So let's press the power button. And the DC-DC turns on. Would you look at that? That's an improvement, and in a few moments the app is hopefully going to catch up. Okay, there we go. And it's doing its job. Putting out power in the vehicle. And if we turn the ignition off again, it actually turns off. Would you look at that? Including the Bluetooth module. Isn't that a tall order for what should be a very obvious feature? At least I can finally use this thing now. Cheerio.